Hello, my dear students. Welcome back to the online lecture video series on electromagnetic theory by AVS Deepak. Till now, in our discussion of electrostatics, we have seen that charges at rest produce electric field around them. We have defined a vector phenomenon called electric field intensity, which gives us the force acting per unit charge. And then we have defined another vector phenomena called electric flux density, which gives us the number of electric flux lines passing per unit surface area. In addition to that, we have also defined a scalar phenomenon called electric potential. And we have seen that electric potential is potential difference between the electric potential at the current point and at point which is far away. We have also seen the behavior of electric fields in various material mediums, say free space, conductors and dielectrics. In there, we have seen that because of dielectrics, electric field would be produced inside them, which can be retained even after the electric field has been removed. Whereas if a conductor is isolatedly placed in an electric field, momentary electric field might generate, but as soon as the electric field has been removed, the conductor assumes its original position, and the net electric field inside a conductor would always be zero. Having said that, let us look at the current module called boundary conditions. These boundary conditions establish the relationship between electric fields of two different materials at their interface. The need for discussing these boundary conditions is, assume that a point source has created an electric field around it. Electric field would be directed radially outward. Now imagine that this is placed inside a particular medium. Now after some distance, a second material or a second medium has started. This was a medium 1 and this is medium 2. Now after some distance d, whatever it might be, a medium 2 has started. But we would analyze the electric field intensity E1 inside medium 1 because of the source present here. Just because the charge is not present in medium 2, we can't say that this charge has no effect in medium 2. That statement would be wrong. Even in medium 2, there would be an electric field because of this point. Similarly, we can also not say that the electric field in medium 2 is same as the electric field in medium 1 because they two might have two different properties. For example, this might be a dielectric of dielectric constant epsilon 1 and this will be having permittivity epsilon 2. Or this might be free space whose permittivity is epsilon naught. Or this might be conductor where the electric field cannot exist. So the electric field inside this medium 2 will definitely be different from the electric field inside medium 1. In this lecture, we would analyze if we can establish a relationship between the electric field inside medium 2 and the electric field inside medium 1 using the properties of electric fields which we have studied so far. If you are in a medium and there is an electric field directed inside a medium, you can decompose this electric field into two components. One along the surface and other along the normal of the surface. This vector which is along the surface is called the tangential component, and this vector which is along the normal is called as the normal component. So if, for example, you have a medium 1 and medium 2 separated by this interface, and this is the normal to both the surfaces. This is the electric field inside medium 1 and this is the electric field inside medium 2. As we have already discussed, this electric field can be decomposed into two components. To decompose this vector into the tangential component and the normal component, we would be needing the angle this vector is making with the normal. If the angle this vector making with normal inside medium 1 is theta 1 and the angle electric field is making with the normal in medium 2 is theta 2, then you can have four components, 2 inside medium 1 and 2 inside medium 2. The relationship between magnitudes of these components can be obtained from the right angle triangle. Let us say AOC. From AOC, I can say that cos theta is the normal component, the magnitude of the normal component divided by the magnitude of the electric field intensity. Therefore, we can say E1n equals to E1 cos theta 1. Similarly, sine of this theta 1 is the magnitude of tangential component divided by the magnitude of electric field intensity. So E1t is equals to E1 sine theta 1. We can establish a similar relationship, but to do that, we may use the properties of alternate angles and say that this angle is also theta 2. Now, if this angle is theta 2 and this is a right angle triangle, OBD. Now, using this, I can also define cos theta to be E2n by E2 and sin theta to be E2t by E2. Therefore, these are the four different components and their relationship with E1 and E2. Similar relationship does exist between the components of electric flux density. That is, if somebody asks you what is the magnitude of electric flux density along the normal component in medium 1, then the answer would be D1 cos theta 1 and D1t would be D1 sin theta 1. Because the direction of E1 and D1 are same. As the relationship between E and D is D equals to epsilon E. From this, we can say that similar relation does exist between the components of electric flux densities. So to discuss boundary conditions, let us see what we intend to find out. If the values of E1t and E1n are given, then by definition, the values of D1T and D1N are given. Right? We have to determine the values of E2T and E2N or D2T and D2N. That is, if you can determine E2T, then you have E2T, D2T, and if you have to determine E2N, then you have the values of D2N and vice versa. To do this, we use the equations we have seen in our earlier discussions. You may see this to be the conservative property of electric fields, and this is the same but written in terms of electric flux density. This equation still holds good. Similarly, we have seen the Gauss's law, that is, the number of electric flux lines leaving a closed surface is equal to the charge enclosed by the surface, right? Similarly, I can write the closed surface integral of E bar dot ds bar should to be equal to Q by epsilon. This follows again the relation that d bar equals to epsilon E bar. But to apply these equations, to use these equations, we need a closed path and a closed surface, because in this E bar dot dl bar is equals to 0, we need a closed path, and to apply this equation d bar dot ds bar to be equal to q, we need a closed surface. So let us define a closed path. We have a medium 1 and medium 2. The closed path which we define is a rectangle, and this rectangle has width of delta w and height of delta h. And the closed surface, this closed path can be considered as sum of 4 independent open paths: dl1 bar, dl2 bar, dl3 bar and dl4 bar. Similarly, this is the closed surface we discuss. This is a cylinder whose height is very low, so as to allow us to limit our discussion to the interface. Right? The volume of this is delta S, delta H. As I have told you, the interface between medium 1 and medium 2 can be of many types. In that, we discuss a dielectric interface, that is, medium 1 is dielectric and medium 2 is also a dielectric. And we discuss a dielectric conductor interface where medium 1 is a dielectric but medium 2 is a conductor. You may also say conductor-conductor interface, but that is not a valid interface because an electric field does not exist inside a conductor. So inside medium 1 it would be 0, and there is no question of it propagating to conductor 2. Therefore, these are the two interface we discuss. Of course, dielectric conductor interface, dielectric free space interface can be same as dielectric interface where epsilon 2 is equals to epsilon naught. So these are the two interface we discuss in this module. If I am discussing about dielectric interface, for medium 1 the permittivity is epsilon 1 and the permittivity of medium 2 is epsilon 2. So the relative permittivities epsilon r1 and epsilon r2 are given by epsilon 1 by epsilon naught and epsilon 2 by epsilon naught respectively. The electric field intensities are E1 bar and E2 bar. The electric flux densities are D1 bar and D2 bar. The relationship between D1 bar and D2 bar with respect to E1 bar and E2 bar is D1 bar is equals to epsilon 1 E1 bar and D2 bar is equals to epsilon 2 E2 bar. So this is the closed path integral we have considered, and these are the various components which are present. So to perform the operation of closed path integral, we just add 4 open path integrals. Let us discuss them one by one. The first path integral, integral of E bar dot dl1 bar. So this is the closed path which we have seen, and dl1 bar is this path. It is moving from right to left, and the magnitude of this path is delta W. And this is completely inside medium 1. Hence, I can say E equals to E1. And in addition to that, you may also see that the angle between the normal and dl1 bar is 90 degrees, and angle between dl1 bar and E1t is 180 degrees. So when I dot them and integrate them, the answer I would be getting is minus E1t times delta W. I hope you can understand this. This delta W is obtained by integration, and this minus E1t is obtained by the dot product. Similarly, to determine the second path integral, we would see that the second path is delta H going from bottom to top. The length of the second path is delta H and is going from bottom to top. And these are the electric fields E1 and E2. You may see that half of this path is inside medium 1 and half of this path is inside medium 2. So I can split this into 2 halves, and I can see that for the second half, the electric field is the electric field component along the normal, and for the second half, this is the electric field along the normal but in medium 2. So when I dot these two, the answer I would be getting is, for this part, I would be getting E1n delta H by 2, and for this part, I would be getting E2n delta H by 2. Please note that this need not be half-Cs. Even if this is 1 by 3 and this is 2 by 3, my intuition would still work. I'll get back to this, why this would work, when I integrate the fourth path, dl4 bar. But right now, I have assumed that this to be halves. So to determine the third path integral, integral of E bar dot dl3 bar, I should know the electric field along the path dl3 bar. And I can see that dl3 bar is completely inside medium 2. Because it is in medium 2, the electric field is nothing but E2, and this is perpendicular to the normal. Hence, there is only the tangential component which is along D3 bar. See, and this is the only component I have which is acting along D3 bar, and the value of this integration would be E2t times delta W. And the fourth path integral would mean, again, half of this path is in medium 2 and the other half is in medium 1, right? For path 1 I would be getting, and you may also observe that the direction of this path is opposite to the direction of the electric field in medium 2. Similarly, this path in medium 1 is also opposite to the value of electric field along normal in medium 1. Thereby, the integration would give me minus E1n delta h by 2 minus E2n delta h by 2. If, as I have told you, if I am talking about the 1/3 and 2/3, then this would again be 1/3 and 2/3 respectively, right? See, what would happen when I combine them together? When I add all four of them, the net result I would be getting is minus E1t times delta W plus E1n times delta h by 2 and E2n times delta h by 2 for the second one. And for third one, I have E2t delta W. And for fourth one, I have minus E1n delta h by 2 and minus E2t delta h by 2. The minus indicates that the direction is opposite. You may see that these two cancel each other and these two cancel each other. There, that is the reason where I have told you that even if there are other fractions instead of halves, they would cancel each other out and these would have literally no effect. So the net resultant I had of this closed path integral is E1t times delta W minus E2t times delta W. But the conservative property of electric field says that the closed path integral of electric field intensity for static electric fields is always 0. Thereby, E1t delta W minus E2t delta W is equals to 0. Therefore, I can conclude that the tangential components of electric fields in medium 1 and medium 2 of a dielectric interfaces are same. So E1n sin theta 1 equals to E2 sin theta 2. E1 sin theta 1 is equals to E2 sin theta 2. So this is the closed surface which we have defined for medium 1 and medium 2. This is a cylinder and we need to determine the closed surface integral of d bar dot ds bar. This is pretty straightforward. I can conclude this because I have assumed that delta H is tending to 0, the curved surface area has vanished. There is no curved surface area. So whatever are the flux lines which are leaving, they should only be leaving either from the top or from the bottom. Right? So if I calculate the flux lines leaving, I should be performing the dot product of this vector with the electric field 2 and the dot product of this vector with the electric field 1, and I should add them together, and that should be equals to the charge at the surface. So this charge at the surface can be equated to integral rho s ds, where this rho s is the surface charge density. And the closed path integral would directly be equals to minus d1n delta s plus d2n delta s, because you may see from the previous slides that the electric field in medium 1, the normal component of electric field in medium 1 is entering, whereas the normal component of medium 2 is leaving. So the net amount of electric flux which is leaving is the number of flux lines passing through outside minus the number of electric flux lines entering from outside. So from that logic, I can say that the closed surface integral of d bar dot ds bar to be equals to d2n delta s minus d1n delta s. As long as we are discussing dielectrics, the dielectrics don't have any free charges. Thereby, I can conclude that the surface charge density is 0. Understand that this is valid only as long as we are only discussing dielectric interface, because dielectrics don't have any free charges. So in that scenario, Q equals to 0, therefore integral of d bar dot ds bar is equals to 0, d1n delta s bar minus d2n delta s bar is equals to 0, therefore d1n is equals to d2n. I can say d1 cos theta 1 is equals to d2 cos theta 2, but the relationship between d1 cos theta 1 and d2 cos theta 2 can also be expressed as epsilon 1 cos theta, epsilon 1 e1 cos theta 1 is equals to epsilon 2 cos e1 e2 cos theta 2. If I divide these two fractions, these two equations, and I form a fraction, then this equation sign should be valid, right? This is following from the equation. If a equals to b and c equals to d, then a by c should be equals to b by d. Using that, I can conclude that this is d1, if I replace that with epsilon 1 e1 and d2 by epsilon 2 e2, and sin theta by cos theta 1 is equals to tan theta 1, sin theta by cos theta 2 is equals to tan theta 2. So I can say that tan theta 1 by tan theta 2 is equal to epsilon 1 by epsilon 2, but epsilon 1 is nothing but epsilon naught epsilon r1, and epsilon 2 is also equals to epsilon naught epsilon r2. The fraction, the ratio of these two permittivities is epsilon r1 by epsilon r2. So this is the expression for these are the relationships for the dielectric interface. So the concluding factors are d1n equals to d2n and e1t was equals to e2t. Using this, if you have the values of electric fields in one medium, then you can determine the values of electric field in the second medium. And this is the byproduct. This equation is a byproduct which can be used to determine the shift in angle. See, if there is electric field is traveling from medium 1 to medium 2, and theta 1 is the angle with normal and theta 2 is the angle with normal in medium 2, to understand the relationship between theta 1 and theta 2 in terms of epsilon r1 and epsilon r2, we may use this expression. But to determine the values of electric field intensities, we use these relations. Now let us discuss a dielectric conductor interface. We have already established that the electric field intensity inside a conductor is 0. That means E2 is already 0. What would happen to the electric field at the interface? So this is the closed surface, closed path which we are discussing. So instead of, you may see, instead of E1 and E2, I have replaced this ECT and ECN. ECT is equals to 0, ECN is equals to 0. Right? Now, because ECT itself is equals to 0. And the relations we have are, if I assume that you know how to integrate this from the previous slides. And when these two cancel out, I'm again left with E dt times delta W is equals to 0, since this is also equals to 0. Hence, the tangential component of electric field inside the dielectric at the interface with the conductor is also equal to 0. That is the getaway from this. That is, at the interface, the tangential component does not exist. And if we understand the normal component, as we have already seen, the closed surface integral would be minus dn delta s plus 0 times delta s. But interesting thing is, here we are no longer discussing dielectrics. We have a conductor in place. You may remember from our discussion of electric fields in conductors that all the free charges tend to build at surfaces. Because all the free charges tend to build at the surfaces, this surface now has a finite surface charge density. Now that it has finite surface charge density, I cannot equate this to equal to 0. Instead, this is equals to the surface charge density times the area. So upon equating, I would be getting that the normal component is minus rho s. The normal component being negative means I have an electric field which I assume to be traveling like this, angle theta 1 and angle theta 1 with the normal and angle theta 2 at the normal at the conductor and at the dielectric. In that, I have established that this is equals to 0. That means the angle with the normal is 0 or 180, because E1t, as you know, is equals to E1 sin theta 1. E1t equals to 0 implies sin theta 1 equals to 0. Therefore, theta 1 is equals to 0 or 180. If theta equals to 0, that means the component of the electric field is along the normal. Right? But we have the value of electric flux density d1n or ddn to be equal to, which we assume to be in this direction, to be negative. That means the electric field is not going this direction, but the electric field is being reflected back. That is, if you have a dielectric conductor dielectric interface, in that the electric field would always be directed away from the interface. Understand that we have assumed perfect conductors. Where electric field inside them is 0. This analysis is valid only for perfect conductors, but not for some general existing conductors. Thank you for your attention. For any queries, please ask in the comment section.